Hello and welcome. My name is Doris. I'm happy that you found my channel or that you're returning to it. Today, this practice will be dedicated to people that feel inflexible or would consider themselves yoga beginners. I personally find the word beginner quite tricky because do you judge it on body? Do you judge it on who knows philosophy, who's meditated before? Often it just focuses on stiffer bodies, but you can practice for a long time and still have a stiff body. And you can also come into it with a flexible body. So a little problematic terms, however, I want you to find this video somehow. So here we are, no matter what body you have, how much yoga experience you have, I'm sure this practice will be great for you. We are going to be using a blanket today, so go grab that and join me reclining on your back. So once you have your blanket, maybe you want to roll it up, place it underneath your thighs so that you can then lie all the way down onto that beautiful back of yours, because often extending the legs can be a little tricky in the lower back, and when we have something underneath the thighs, underneath the knees, sort of like a yoga bolster, that can be great. However, stepping the feet mat width distance apart and then dropping the knees together can also be really comforting for the lower back. So just settle in for a moment. Perhaps you want to place hands on your body, or maybe lie them next to your sides, or maybe move and stretch out. All I'm inviting you to do is take a moment to connect to your body, to notice how your body's feeling today. Maybe you want to sigh it out, could release some tension, and could allow you to just settle in to this practice. Noticing the breath coming and going. Gift yourself 3 rounds of breath in and out. And then we are going to start moving. So gently step the feet onto the mat, maybe just move your blanket a bit away from you so you can step the feet closer to your sit bones. Heels walk a little in, just making sure the knees are happy. So if you already notice they're not happy, maybe try pointing the feet a little apart, so towards opposite sides, and maybe walk the heels even further apart, both away from your sit bones, but also a little wider than hip width distance. So settling in here, bringing the arms alongside the body and just making sure you've got some space to extend the arms behind your head, building into shoulder bridge. So we're just starting first with the arms, and we are going to marry movement and breath. So however long or short your breath is, that will match your movement as well, but maybe that will change as we continue flowing. Taking a breath in and out, pulling chin to chest slightly, and then inhale, right arm reaches first towards the sky, ceiling, and then dropping right hand, maybe behind you if that's available. Exhale, bring the arm back alongside the body. And inhale, reach the left arm back. Maybe the arm is hovering as you bring it back. Exhale. Let's flow, alternating the arms, reaching it back, and bringing it next to the body. And just notice what happens in your body, your chest. Maybe you can feel your chest joining that movement. Maybe you're arching the upper back as you reach one arm back. Relaxing the jaw, relaxing the face, and just pulling your chin gently into the chest. And then as you bring one arm next to the body again. Let's bring the other one back. So we're sort of crisscrossing and moving the arms in opposite direction. And just for each semicircle, taking a breath. So one arm will be off sync, but that's okay. Maybe staying in one position with one arm back, one next to you. Just notice how that feels. Perhaps the shoulder of that extended arm is quite off the ground, perfectly okay. And then let's switch it around. Other arm behind you. And then just bringing that arm back so we're back in our starting position. Rooting the feet down firmly, we are going to connect this movement now with both arms, and then we're eventually going to lift more and more of the pelvis and the lower back off the ground. But let's just start with the arms. Inhale, reaching both arms behind you. And exhale back. Let's do that twice more just with your arms. Might be quite different to just doing one arm. Maybe there is more movement because one arm isn't holding the chest down. And then next time you lift, engaging your glutes, so squeezing the bum muscles and just letting your sit bones, so your bum hover off the ground. And then exhale, bring everything back down. So inhale, lifting, engaging your glutes, maybe lifting a little further up, and exhale, bring everything back down. So we are continuing to grow our shoulder bridge, and maybe you already reached your limit, perfectly okay. Or maybe you continue growing. And as you flow, I invite you to maybe just look at your knees in the periphery, and perhaps you can just notice, are they moving a lot sideways? Or are they staying still? Because we don't want them to drop in or outward too much, but we do want them to be happy. So if they're not happy, just try to maybe move the feet a little bit and see if that works. And if the knees aren't happy, then feel free to just do this with your arms. We don't want to mess with the joints. Making sure you're really squeezing your bum muscles as you lift, because we do want to protect the lower back. And then next time you reach your arms overhead, let's stay there. Continue breathing, pushing your shoulders into the ground, relaxing your face. Feet firmly planted, bum engaged. Let's take a breath in. Keeping the arms where they are, just lowering the spine down, one vertebra at a time. So like a chain, one element at a time. And maybe enjoying this little stretch of the chest. And then hugging the knees into the chest, just rocking side to side. Maybe your arms are quite extended. Maybe there's almost like a 90-degree angle in the knees. And then just dropping to one side, whatever side that is. And curling up for a moment. And then with your top hand, push yourself up towards the seat. And here we already grab our little blanket and fold it as much as it will go. I happen to have quite a thick blanket, so I have nice height. And we're bringing that underneath our sit bones. And when the hips are tight, it might look like this, your seat. So we try to go for knees lower than hips. So that's why we elevate the hips. And maybe you want to cross your shins and create a little triangle between the legs. Maybe you want to hug your heels in and bring your knees a little wider, or maybe reaching your heels back. For some bodies, that's quite available, especially with some elevation. So whatever works for you, for your hips. Taking a moment to find a tall seat, thinking of having maybe a thread pulling at the crown of your head towards the sky. Let's bring the shoulders up to the ears and then pull them down and apart. Purposefully relaxing the shoulders. Maybe just sigh it out. We say rooting down through the sit bones when we try to focus the ground, focus on the ground beneath us, and simultaneously almost like a plant growing tall and proud. Next, we are once again marrying breath and movement for a little pranayama, a little breath work. So reaching the arms by your side, taking a breath in, growing tall, maybe bringing palms together, and then exhale, bringing your hands along the midline back towards the belly, and then breaking free. Inhale to reach, maybe the gaze wants to follow. Exhale. So a little movement for the upper back as well, and a way to once again connect to the breath, because it's all about the breath in yoga. So keep moving. Maybe you want to close your eyes. And in general, unless stated specifically, we breathe more through the nose than the mouth. However, when people aren't used to breathing or focusing on breathing, because obviously we do breathe a lot, that can be easier to do through the mouth, especially the exhale. So if that's where you are, perfectly fine. And if it's too complicated to focus on the breath, you can just focus on the movement for now, and then the breath will come later. Don't worry about it. Let's just take this 2 more rounds of breath. And then reaching the arms up, taking another breath in and out. And then moving the arms alongside just as slowly as you can. Slow-mo, like you're reaching through water here. Taking a moment to just notice how that felt. Body awareness, body connection is, in my opinion, the most important thing that we learn and focus on in yoga. And next we're coming into tabletop, and with our little blanket, maybe bringing that underneath the knees, especially if you're not used to it, or maybe you have a thin mat or you're working with a harder surface. So mine is quite thick, but that's okay for now. And then we bring the knees about hip-width distance apart so that your outer thighs align with your hip roughly. But again, like in shoulder bridge, you can find a little alternation with the knees. And then hands underneath the shoulders, and that it's not about a perfect line. And then I really would like you to look at your fingers and spread them. So spreading thumbs and pinky finger apart, and pushing the palm, so the center of your hand, and every part of each finger into the ground. So we spread the weight. I often see that we're mainly resting on our wrists and maybe the tips of the fingers, but I really would like you to bring the hand as flat as possible without overextending anything. Great. You can tug your toes if that's more comfortable, or place your feet flat on the ground. Inhale, we're dropping the belly, going into arched lower back and slowly lifting the head just a little bit to look forward. That's called cow. Exhale, then we start to rotate and roll up and away from the ground, going into cat, looking back at the thighs. Inhale, then first we start from the pelvis, dropping the lower back and then lifting the head. And then exhale, starting to arch, starting to push the ground away. And we'll continue moving here, in and out with the breath. Really feeling as each vertebra moves one after the other. Having the arms extended, jaw, face relaxed. Let's take this for 2 more rounds of cat-cow. And then coming into neutral spine, tugging the toes under, taking a breath in and out to lift the knees, keeping the knees gently bent, allowing the sit bones to grow tall. We keep pushing the ground away with our hands and then looking back towards our feet. This is down dog. So really keep a generous bend in the knees. Just going to stay here for another breath in and out. We're trying to push belly to thigh. And start walking your hands to your feet until your heels come to the ground. Keep a generous bend in your knees if you'd like. Maybe hold on to opposite elbow with your hand. Really dropping the neck, the head, maybe shaking the head no and nodding it yes. And allowing gravity to pull you down. You might be quite far away from your legs. It's not about reaching the ground. We're just trying to, once again, bring belly and thigh together. Relaxing the toes, taking just 2 rounds of breath in and out. Bending the knees even more, releasing elbows and allowing yourself to roll up. So first, we roll up the lower back. It's like a zombie roll, I like to say. And then last, shoulders and head lift. Coming in to standing. Just take a moment to notice how you're standing here, gently bending the knees, maybe just lifting your toes off the ground and lowering them down. Relaxing the shoulders, thinking of being pulled up by this magical yoga thread. Another breath in and out. Coming into a balance pose, and balance is very challenging, and balance is also really different every day for everybody. So we're just trying to take it easy, and if you have a wall near you or a chair, that can be a great balance aid. So the left leg is our standing leg, just gently bending the left knee. And then for tree, just placing the right heel against your left shin and calf. Keeping the ball of the right foot on the ground. We're opening that right knee out to the side, really squeezing leg and foot against one another. Glutes engaged, so bum muscles engaged. So we're building up our tree and then bringing the hands maybe together in front of the heart, or you could also open your arms into a little tree branch or tree top, I suppose. Find a drishti point, so a point that you can focus on that helps you stand. And even if you fall, what about it? It's not about perfection. Maybe you can notice how your left ankle is working really hard to keep us steady. So even if we are still on a bigger scale, that ankle is working a lot. Let's take a breath in and out. Releasing hands and the leg. Maybe you can feel a difference in the sides of the body. And then right leg is our standing leg, gently bending the knee, left foot to the ground or ball of the foot to the ground, heel against the right leg. Open the leg out to the side, squeeze so everything here is active. And then find your branch position, find your focal point, and all you gotta do is breathe. It's not about staying in a pose, it's about being present in the practice, being kind to yourself and appreciating your body, which is, I would say, harder if you fall. But that's all about, testing yourself and appreciating yourself regardless. Take a final breath in and out. Slowly then release everything, arm and foot. Just find your way back to standing. Shake it off. And maybe just fold your blanket once more compared to when you were on your knees. Then bringing the heels onto your blanket and the feet apart. So maybe you're bringing them mat width distance apart, or further than, I would bring them further than hips apart, toes point away from one another. And then here we start to bend the knees, sink a little down. So we are now in yoga squat, and most people can't bring the heels down and maintain an upright position. So this is why we brought the floor closer to us. So even if this is challenging, maybe you can find balance, bring the hands down. It's not about lifting them off the ground, and thinking of growing tall once again, allowing the sit bones, your pelvis to sink towards the ground, and to make it a bit more active, pushing the legs apart. Maybe you can notice your lower body working a lot. Maybe you'd like to bring the elbows to aid with that pushing movement. Maybe the hands come together. I personally also really like to hold my wrist to give the legs a bit more wiggle room. Thinking of your magical thread, let's just take 2 rounds of breath here, in and out. Slowly release the hands, bring fingers down to the ground and the knees back onto your blanket. So tabletop. From here, leaning a little bit to the left so that you can step that right foot on the outer corner of your right hand. So maybe you have to help that right foot get there. That's perfectly okay. And then strong legs as you start to lift the chest off the ground. And now we're aligning the body with your left leg, with your back leg. Maybe you want to walk that right foot just a bit more inward. And thinking once again about growing tall, engaging your left glutes. Maybe you can feel a stretch here in your left thigh, your left hip flexor. Just resting the right hand on your right thigh, and if you find it quite wobbly, maybe walk that right foot further out. The wider the base is, usually the more balanced we feel. Relaxing the shoulders. Take a breath in and out. Walk that right foot a bit further out once again. So you can bring the hands on the inner side of the foot, maybe lean more to the left. So you can bring that right knee back, lean to the right, step that left foot or walk it next to your left hand. Strong legs, let's grow tall. Thinking of length, maybe resting a hand on your belly, left hand on the thigh, maybe walk that left foot a bit more inward, engaging your right glutes and engaging your thigh. Maybe you want to think of almost going forward with your body, but not allowing it. So we have this counter movement that takes place. Staying for another breath. And then let's walk that left foot back out a little bit, coming down onto hands, and then wiggling, walking the left knee back. Let's bring the legs to one side and then guide yourself back onto your folded blanket, maybe folding it twice like in our seat, and then bring the soles of the feet together. This is called butterfly. So your knees might be up here, perfectly fine. And you can allow the soles of the feet to fall apart. So my feet almost look a little bit like a book. If I had written something on the bottom, I could read it. Or you can keep them closer together. Some hips just prefer one or the other movement. And allow yourself a decent amount of space here. So you could be quite far away with your heels to pubic bone. Perfectly fine. And maybe you just let your knees fly and hover a little bit like a butterfly. Shoulders relaxed, soft face. Taking a breath in and out. Thinking inhale to grow tall, and exhale, just think about your belly going forward. Don't think about what your shoulders and hands are doing. So you might have just moved an inch, you might have not moved at all. Perfectly fine. Thinking about actively pulling your belly towards the ground. Maybe you're holding on to your feet or your ankles for that. So thinking of maintaining this strong line in the back, taking a breath in and out. Unravel to come up and find a comfortable seat, or perhaps you want to lie down to just take a moment to pause, tune into the body. I like to say to digest the practice. Maybe the corners of the mouth are moving slightly upwards. Perhaps you'd like to place a hand on the body, the belly, the chest, to observe the breath. Maybe taking a final breath in and out, bowing chin to chest as a humble gesture of gratitude. Thanking body and mind for enabling us to practice the exact way that we just did. Thank you for taking this time with me. I hope that you felt the practice affect your body, your mind in some way or another. There's never a wrong outcome with yoga. I remember when I started out, often I'd feel irritated or vulnerable or just quite thin-skinned. So I like to compare it to peeling a layer of onion. We never know what's underneath it, but I feel like it's all supposed to come out and, be released from the body, from the mind. If you enjoyed this practice, I'd appreciate it. You share it with me, maybe share it with others, like this practice, subscribe to my channel, and maybe check out my online yoga studio. You can find the link down in the description box below. Have a great day. I hope to see you soon on the mat. And until then, take care and see you soon.